Most compact SUVs feel like appliances, but the 2025 Mazda CX-5. This thing's got the soul of a sports car wrapped in a luxury coat, and yeah, believe it or not, it still punches way above its weight. Hello everyone, this is Sully from CarlandTV. It's time to hop in the front seat because today we're taking a closer look at what makes the 2025 Mazda CX-5 one of the most driver-focused compact SUVs you can get right now. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now buckle up and let's get back to the video. I've been behind the wheel of a lot of compact crossovers, but Mazda always does something different. There's this almost stubborn commitment to making even a daily driver feel like it was built by folks who actually enjoy driving. And for 2025, the CX-5 doesn't try to reinvent itself. It just gets sharper where it counts. The base S trim is back, which is huge if you're trying to get into a CX-5 without crossing into luxury pricing territory. At the same time, Mazda dropped the non-turbo premium trim probably to clean up the middle of the lineup and push more folks toward the sportier options. One thing I noticed right away when hopping into the Carbon Edition, you now get wireless Apple, CarPlay Android Auto, and a wireless phone charger, all of which are just wow. No more cords snaking around the cabin. And if you're like me and use your phone for everything from maps to podcasts, that's a solid upgrade. Mazda also gave the Premium Plus trim a surround view camera and parking sensors, which used to be reserved for the top trims. Lastly, USB-Cs are now standard up front, which is perfect if you're running newer gear. Now that we've got the new details unveiled and out of the way, let me introduce you to what each trim level brings to the table. Pricing for the 2025 Mazda CX-5 starts at around $30,000 and tops out just above $42,000, depending on how deep you want to go into features and power. I've had my hands on a few different trims, and I can tell you firsthand, there's no dead weight in the lineup. The base S trim gets you all-wheel drive, a 10.3-inch infotainment screen, and the full safety suite, which is a solid package for the money. Step up to the select or preferred trims, and you start to see the comfort perks roll in. I'm talking dual-zone climate control, power adjustable, and heated front seats, and a leather-wrapped steering wheel. I guess it's safe to say that none of these are unnecessary. These features make a big difference on longer drives. The Carbon Edition is where Mazda adds some personality. With blacked-out trim and that sharp polymetal gray paint, it's one of the slickest-looking crossovers in this segment. Now with wireless CarPlay Android Auto and a wireless charger, it feels modern too. If you want more tech and convenience, the Premium Plus throws in a surround view camera and parking sensors. But if you're all about performance, like I am, the Turbo Premium and Turbo Signature trims are where it gets serious. Both come with 256 horsepower turbo engines, sharper styling, and upgraded interiors that feel borderline luxury. Out of the whole bunch, I think the Turbo Premium hits the sweet spot with the best mix of power features and value. Next, let me give you a preview of how the 2025 CX-5 actually performs when you hit the road. Mazda's always had this thing about making cars that feel connected, and the 2025 CX-5 is no exception. You can tell it was built by people who care about how a car drives, not just how it looks on a spec sheet. I've driven both versions, and the way this SUV handles itself is what keeps it ahead of the pack. The base 2.5-liter four-cylinder makes 187 horsepower, and while it's not a rocket, it's got enough low-end response to feel lively around town. It's smooth off the line, and the throttle feels tuned right for stop-and-go traffic and casual cruising, and yeah, I really love that. But if you're like me and want something with more punch, the turbocharged version is where the real fun begins. With 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque on premium fuel, the CX-5 finally gets the muscle to match its sharp steering and planted ride. You feel the torque come in early and it holds strong through the mid-range. Highway merges quick passes, uphill climbs. It handles all of it without hesitation. Mazda pairs both engines with a 6-speed automatic that shifts clean and doesn't waste time hunting for gears. All-wheel drive is standard now, and it gives the car a locked-in feel even on slick roads. What really stood out to me was the balance. The suspension keeps it flat through corners, but it still soaks up rough pavement without feeling stiff. The steering feels tight in your hands, and it reacts exactly how you want it to. You just don't get that kind of driving feel in most crossovers. Of course, fuel economy might not be the most interesting topic when it comes to checking cars, but it's one I pay close attention to, especially when I'm clocking long miles between shoots or heading out on a weekend trip. The 2025 CX-5 with the standard 2.5-liter engine surprised me. Mazda claims 26 miles per gallon in the city and 31 on the highway. And when I ran it on a steady 75 miles per hour stretch, I pulled off a legit 32 miles per gallon, which is damn outstanding. That's impressive for an all-wheel drive setup that still feels responsive around town. Now, the turbo model is a little thirstier, I have to admit that. But you kind of expect that when you've got 256 horsepower on tap. I was seeing around 24 miles per gallon combined, which matched up pretty close to the EPA's 22 miles per gallon in the city and 27 on the highway. Even when I leaned into the throttle a bit harder, it didn't nosedive like some other turbo SUVs I've tested. Mazda's 6-speed automatic plays a big role here. It doesn't get fancy with a bunch of gears, but it's tuned right and doesn't waste fuel hunting around. It knows what gear to be in and keeps things smooth. If fuel savings is a top priority, the base engine's a safe bet. If you want more grunt, the turbo gives solid numbers without being a gas hog. Well, people don't just take a look at the 2025 CX-5 for its performance. I mean, it looks good, man, inside or outside. You know, Mazda has always had a sharp eye for design. But when I stepped into the 2025 CX-5, I had to do a double take. It honestly feels like something out of the luxury segment. The dash layout is clean and purposeful, and the materials feel solid throughout. I've driven the Turbo Signature trim, and between the Napa leather seats, real wood accents, and ambient lighting, it gave off serious European vibes without the European price tag. The comfort is dialed in too. Mazda paid attention to the little stuff. The armrests sit at the same height, which makes a long drive a lot easier on the body. The steering wheel lines up dead center with the driver's seat, and the floor-hinged accelerator pedal gives a more natural feel under your foot. It's one of those details you don't notice until you jump into another car that gets it wrong. Rear space is a bit tighter than some of its rivals, but I still had enough room to ride comfortably as a passenger. Cargo space is usable, though not class-leading. It fits daily needs just fine. Next up, let's get into how Mazda handles tech and infotainment in this cabin. And every 2025 Mazda CX-5 comes standard with a 10.3-inch infotainment display controlled by a rotary dial on the center console rather than a touchscreen interface. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard, and select trims now include wireless versions along with a wireless phone charger. The system also supports voice commands and steering wheel controls, which makes it easy to manage while driving. Mazda Connected Services gives access to remote functions like locking, starting, and vehicle status through a smartphone app. There's also an available Wi-Fi hotspot subscription, which could come in handy along the way. Also, one thing I've always appreciated about Mazda is they don't skimp on safety, and that shows in the 2025 CX-5. I felt confident knowing it comes standard with adaptive cruise lane keeping assist and automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection. On a rainy highway run, the lane departure warning kicked in smoothly, not overly aggressive like some systems I've tested. The Premium Plus I drove had a surround view camera and parking sensors, which made tight parking lots way easier to deal with. With a 5-star NHTSA rating, the CX-5 feels like it's got your back when things get unpredictable. By the way, I hooked up a lightweight trailer to the CX-5 just to see how it handled, and for a compact SUV, it did better than expected. Now let me be clear to you. With a 2,000-pound towing capacity, it's definitely not built for hauling campers, but it's solid for weekend runs with a small trailer or dirt bikes. Inside, the cargo space is decent at around 30 cubic feet behind the seats, and the floor stays nice and flat when you fold them down. I had no trouble fitting camera gear and range bags. Storage spots up front are well placed too, especially the deep center console bin. Overall, driving the 2025 Mazda CX-5 reminded me why I keep coming back to this brand. It's not just about getting from point A to point B. Mazda builds cars that actually make you want to take the long way home. The CX-5 fits that mindset perfectly. If you're the kind of driver who notices the way a car corners or how tight the steering feels, this SUV delivers. It's not the most spacious in its class, and it won't win a fuel economy battle against a hybrid, but it makes up for it in how refined and connected it feels. The turbocharged models have real power, and even the base engine is smooth and responsive in daily traffic. Inside, everything feels thoughtfully placed and well built. This is a great choice for someone who enjoys driving, but still wants the comfort and flexibility of a compact SUV. It just feels right. It just feels right.